Hello everyone. Welcome to AgileCast, a podcast series for Agile enthusiasts from Zebia Agile community of consulting and transformation, in short known as ZACT. ZACT is a community of seasoned Agile coaches and passionate Agile enthusiasts. AgileCast is our attempt to strengthen and enrich the community by making Agile a ZACT science. As part of this initiative, we will be picking up trending topics and pertinent questions related to the world of Agile and product development. We will be sharing our experiences here through this platform. We live by our core value of knowledge sharing, which is the only way you learn and care about your community. Apart from the podcast series, we have also been hosting webinars, meetups, annual conference named Agile NCR, and also contribute by publishing blogs and papers. My name is Bala. I am a principal consultant and Agile coach at Zebia. I am an agility explorer on a journey of nurturing an organic environment for people to realize their innate potential. I am happy to have Umar with us today. Umar is currently working as a Scrum Master with Walmart Global Tech. He loves to call himself as an empiricist and is passionate about evoking people and organizations to achieve sustainable agility driven by values. He is also a crew member of the Scrum Master Studio community and an occasional blogger at Serious Scrum, a community by and for Scrum practitioners. We are going to have a deep dive conversation about the topic Discover Your Inherent Path Towards Agility that might lead to a thought-provoking change in thinking about co-evolving Agile journey. Hello, Umar. Welcome to the podcast. It is always a wonderful experience to have meaningful conversation about agility with you.
Likewise, it's my pleasure to be here with you, Bala. Thanks for having me, first of all. The learning is mutual when each of us share our experiences, thoughts, and challenges so that we will be able to discover together how can we navigate the agile journey. Also, I'm very excited about today's topic, discover your inherent path towards agility. How true, isn't it?
Yes, I'm sure it is going to be a productive conversation about discovery, especially in the context of Scrum.
Sounds interesting. Scrum is not just a mere process that most of us think when we start learning it, but it's eventually, when we master that, it is a process framework which enables people, teams, and organizations as well to discover their inherent path towards agility by delivering value consistently, sprint after sprint.
Totally agree, Umar. I would like to add another aspect called inherent simplicity, which is essential while using the Scrum framework.
Indeed, it totally resonates with one of the statements made by Gunther Wehen, the man of values as well as the independent Scrum caretaker. He once quoted, complexity is a word, simplicity is a path. So now it reminds me, Bala, how can we make this inherent simplicity possible in a world of full of constraint?
Constraint is good. Inherent simplicity is one of the four pillars of theory of constraints. And to explain that inherent simplicity of a complex system is also simple. Take for example, if the system has no constraint, then it would grow infinite fast and consume all the resources. And if a system has two constraints, then it tends to oscillate because it's nearly impossible that they are equally constraining all the time. If a system has three or more constraints, it tends to become chaotic and unstable at one point in time.
Awesome. So thanks for bringing up the analogy of the parameters that you considered. Now, one question comes to my mind. You're talking about inherent simplicity in a complex system, and that too with one or two, three variables. Now, take an example from product development space, where predominantly Scrum is employed, as per even the research data. How can we limit ourselves to two to three variables?
Yeah, good question, Umar. I like it. So the highest probability that a complex system survives is that it has one constraint that is strong enough to stabilize the complex system to survive. The more complex a system is, the stronger the constraint has to be. That is inherent simplicity. Unless we find that constraint, everything looks complex for us because we don't understand. In the moment we see the constraint, everything gets clear. That is theory of constraints. If you see nature, right, nature exhibits complex patterns and behavior. But if you keenly observe those things, they are all guided by simple rules. As stated by Newton, nature is exceedingly simple and harmonious with itself.
Hmm, true. Exactly, Balan. Now, when you talk about this constraint, the most important constraint, I feel values is a very good topic to pick up here. Whereas values drive behavior, and hence Scrum values act as an inner compass in employing Scrum to not to make it successful or a learning moment. These values bind all the essential elements associated with the Scrum framework that guide people within the system, the complex adaptive system, which we call, to discover their own inherent simple path towards agility, depending on the context and the environment where they employ it. I believe Scrum is a systemic approach, not just a process, a systemic approach that enables both discovery of our own process to deliver customer outcomes by acting as means to agility. What do you think is a crucial skill for a leader to lead in a complex environment, Bala?
Yeah, like how oxygen is crucial for our existence on Earth, similarly, coaching is an essential skill for any leader to nurture an organic organization. As rightly quoted from that John Whitmore said, coaching helps the person to learn rather than teaching them. In essence, coaching is really about supporting people in taking responsibility for their lives by developing their leader within. So it is an inward journey. So it is possible by encouraging them to express their unique gifts and help them expand their abilities in many ways.
Now I get reminded why the Scrum Guide 2020 version had Scrum Master as a true leader who serves the team in a
Of
way.
course,
So I
yeah.
think, yeah, true. So let's talk about coaching stance that you referred to. Yeah, definitely that seems to be a very crucial skill, and that is one of the stances that a Scrum Master can enact in order to unlock the teams or unleash the team's potential to maximize their performance and also help them improve from where they are to where they want to reach and have those learning moments throughout the journey every sprint. Make it purposeful and delightful for the customer, as it creates an engaging and productive environment for the people to thrive in a complex ecosystem and help them be their own, self manage their capabilities and their abilities to deliver customer value with high quality standards in mind and also create a learning organization. The purpose of Scrum is not just to do Scrum mechanically. I think predominantly teams are doing it, and I've seen in my past experience. It's all about giving the nurturing space for the human dynamics to interact amongst the complex system so that they can express their true self, interact with each other with values imbibed in them, so that with a serving mindset is nurtured.
We call them as zombie scrum. It
Yeah,
always
yeah.
haunts us, yeah, if we don't live the scrum values. Once myself and a fellow scrum master were discussing how to bring fresh thoughts because scrum is all about creativity. So fresh thoughts to scrum events and help the team towards the path of exploration. So a thought came to my mind about the daily Scrum event. I told him it is a very crucial event and daily Scrum is all about is a replanning event. Why can't we help the team embrace the grow coaching model? It's a famous one for an effective conversation.
It definitely excites me, Bala, and it also you're trying to furthermore take the coaching aspect to next level, where you have come up with some recommendations that the fellow Scrum Masters can use. I think it's going to be definitely a worth learning experience. I'm curious, could you please elaborate more with some specific around the model for my understanding and for the viewers?
It was an interesting experiment, Umar. I would love to clarify it using the Scrum values entwined with the coaching model. For if you take the grow, right? So grow G goal more focused towards short-term goal called sprint goal, so the team can focus toward in the daily scrum, and also on long-term goal, the bigger picture where we want to go. So that's called product goal. And also to understand the reality with more courage in their mind so that they can explore whatever the real-time progress and impediments in achieving the sprint goal. And also they should also have that experimental mindset and exploring all the options with their open mind so that the entire team can embrace it and explore about those options. And respect, that's a very crucial thing, respect the reality and proceed forward with will as it enables the sense of ownership and accountability demonstrated by the entire scrum team with commitment to deliver value.
That's fantastic, Bala. I think I love the way how we have tried to bridge, combine both these values and the grow mode. I think definitely people will be love to experience that by him experimenting this kind of recommendation. Definitely, I think I totally concur with you. Scrum is founded using empirical process control, and it now reminds me that Scrum is also an opportunistic discovery framework to validate our experiments to achieve something worth for the customer or learn from the outcomes generated in the form of value or learning. And since you picked up daily Scrum, now I would like to pick another crucial event that is the last and the most important event compared to all other four other events in the Scrum framework in the context of sprint retrospective, which is a critical event that ensures feedback of the closed loop system is fulfilled in order to improve the team, be it productivity, be it purpose, or the value they generate. What do you think about this?
Interesting, Umar. So when we observe the complex adaptive system, the one thing will emerge. All the components within the system is thrive on effective connections. You mean the relationship, how they interact. So in Scrum, there is no room for dogmatism. It is always for it's a warm house and for creative people who respect continuous learning. So always they look for close feedback with an open mind. So sprint retrospective, as you rightly said, is a crucial reflection point. Is not a groundhog day with monotonous glitches to give the feeling of deja vu.
Yeah, true. I think that aspect which you said, like reflection point, like it's act as a true mirror for the entire team to reflect how could they become better version of themselves in the next sprint. And depending on the context they operate in, depending on the markets they operate in, where Scrum is employed. I think that also gives space to have a psychological safety for the entire team to think about what sensible patterns they observed during the sprint and that emerged all along the way during the sprint so that they can collaborate better in terms of process, in terms of engineering standards, and also product quality or the product roadmap. How do they navigate in that sprint, aligning to the sprint goal, be it product goal, which is at a tactical level? I think those productive conversations really are productive for refining and also to pivot their tactics towards the path of continuous improvement that is also supports iterative and incremental way of working when we embrace agility. I would like to emphasize the importance of Scrum values that we discussed initially, that every Scrum team must embrace, especially during a sprint retrospective, because we just discussed about it. How can we club? I'm trying to just share some thoughts about it as you shared for daily Scrum using Grow model. So here I would like to share some thoughts on values with sprint retrospective. To start with focus, the entire team needs to focus on identifying an action item anytime before the end of the sprint retrospective. Take some courage to openly call out anything they had observed from the patterns that we discussed about emergent practices and share some constructive feedback amongst each other. And the entire team must be committed to deliver quality in the value that they generate, be it a feature or a product increment that they are trying to develop, be it anything, they should be committed to having a meaningful conversation towards the success of entire team. As I said, openness also nurtures self-introspection and sharing feedback amongst each other within the Scrum team, with an opportunity to learn from each other, because it's all about continuous learning, right? Continuous improvement also facilitates continuous learning amongst each of them. And finally, the respect that each other share is more crucial in order to hold that shared accountability amongst each other and respect each other's contribution.
It's really amazing, Omar. So how you just connect Scrum values in retrospective. I also want to share one other aspect that was discovered last week when we experimented also with sprint retrospective, because it is having a special focus on connections. So connections are vital for the closed feedback loops and for also for evolutionary learning. So we came up with a technique called the three C's. So one thing is called connection with our individual, that self. So how the space to balance work and personal well-being, enough slack time to sharpen our mental agility and the sense of belongingness, because the belongingness gives that engagement and connection with the team members, how we are understanding their peer members and finding time to connect with each other and asking and giving support. So that kind of vulnerability, right? Asking and getting the support and connection with, of course, connection with the business also. How well informed about the bigger picture like product goal, vision, strategy, and connecting with the respective stakeholders and understanding the pain areas of the customers. So connections. So complex adaptive system is all about vital connections.
Yeah, when you said about this 3C, now I get reminded about 3A's, I would say. That's a spontaneous technique that I just discovered. Like, it's about authentic relationships that enables and nurtures the engagement, awareness that each of us should have when we work during the sprint while trying to fulfill or accomplish that sprint goal that is in line to the product goal at a tactical level. And the final one being, how can we audaciously achieve something great, like the purpose, right? The why. One thing icks me, like, yeah, you referred to a word called engagement. I think, how can you relate this engagement to any personal experience that you had, some sort of experience that you had in your past? If, Can you please share?
Yeah, I would like to, Umar. So, yeah, agility starts with the individual. So, it's a always an inward journey that will help us to see the reality and understanding that. So, one of the the experience is my trekking experience. It is I love that. I love to share that. In my view, trekking is a great example of experiential learning. I have this habit of trusting my own experiences over someone else.
Hmm, sounds interesting. Seems to be a very personal agility related topic. So could you please elaborate more, like what you learned and how did you experience that, so that it will add more value to understand how can we turn those experiences into personal moments for agility within ourselves, as you rightly said.
Sure, Omar. They say mountains teach us. So, though I was not very sure about what we would learn from the mountains, I feel minuscule among the mighty mountains because it teaches humility. Learning from mountains is not sitting in front of them and thinking about life. You learn from the mountains while climbing them.
Hmm, interesting. Now you touched upon what you learned. Now I would like to hear more about how can we relate this towards our today's topic about self-discovery of our path, inherent path towards agility.
Sure. A few years back, I went trekking with my friends. It was a very steep mountain to climb. As I was carrying a heavy bag with a lot of items, I felt that everything is important. So it was challenging for me to climb the mountain. Luckily, my truck leader was very empathetic and understood my problem. He just came near to me and he told Bala, there are a couple of things to be kept in mind while trekking. One is baggage and the other is sustainable pace. He continued, when it comes to packing for a trek in an efficient way so that you have maximum flexibility with minimum weight that consists of essential elements, there should be a fine poise. When endurance is the goal, the key is to set a sustainable pace. The truck leader mentioned that he has been coming to this mountain for a long time and every time he teaches new lessons. Then I believe we can never be fully prepared for anything in life because it is unpredictable predominantly.
Totally second that. I think what happens in near future is not predictable. If we were so predictable, we wouldn't be in a complex situation and we could be operating in a very simple manner with just simplicity without any complexity, I think, involved in it. Given that we are in a very complex world right now and the COVID-19 situation has started, we need to be fast enough to adapt to situations, inspect and adapt. I think empiricism has ingrained into many of those areas when this disruption happened across the world. So, what was your unforgettable experience during this trekking event, Bala?
Those moments are still lingering in my mind, Omar. So, when our entire team reached the summit, I discovered a change that happened during the journey. A trekking experience is like a mirror that reveals our capabilities to embrace uncertainty by responding to the changes occurring every crucial moment. A trek serves as a reconnection with our internal self. So the journey is not about finding yourself, it is about creating yourself. It is applicable to our life too. So as we carry unnecessary baggage like emotional guilt or regret, which happens in your day-to-day life, which makes each day harder than it needs to be and holds us back from really doing what we want. It somehow resonated with me. Now, we're drawing a parallel with Scrum. It offers you the essential elements to employ empirical process control in order to deliver more with a lean mindset, similar to the moments experienced during the track.
Very fascinating to know that Scrum is so appropriate for a real-time complex challenge like trekking. Totally second that. Now, it reminds me about a small experiment that I did in the past while working with one of the organizations about improving their time to market, especially, I think. And the technique is coined as SBI. So start with simple rules, as you were talking about simplicity, and build the necessary. Less is more, you know. So with the essential and necessary elements that is required for the product to service needs best, and then improve by iterating continuously to serve him better according to the changing needs and complexity. As you rightly said, like complex in a complex world, the parameters keep changing every now and then as per the behaviors of the customers keep changing. Like for example, COVID-19 is a good example. Earlier, people were would love to go to shops and have their purchases happen in person. Now it's become very fast forward. Like we moved 10 years down the line, fast forward in the future. So customer expectations keep changing, markets keep getting disrupted. So that was a good, very good experience, I would say. I mean, very good starting point for that organization.
Yeah, sounds interesting, Umar. I would like to know more about it with some specifics attached to it. It will be great.
Sure, with pleasure. I would be glad to share that. I think the problem at hand, as I told you before, is about time to market after that feature is launched in the initial geographies. They were operating about more than 3 to 4 geographies and pivoting as per the needs of the customers and how the feature is intruding into these markets based on the value that it had. So once the challenge was almost the data that we took from the previous capabilities that we delivered in each of these markets. After the initial launch in other geographies, it took about almost 60% of the time from the initial cycle time that it took to launch this feature. So then the product owner, I think the senior director of products, reached out to me saying that how can we leverage from the learnings that we had in the past and see for an opportunity to improve our cycle time. Then I said, okay, the SBA technique seems to be a good candidate for us to experiment. Let's start with a feature and measure that and try to get those learnings, conduct a retrospective, not just at a sprint level, but also at a learnings that we had, the learning moments that we had after the launch, and try to inculcate them in the same technique, like start building features with the end in mind. Where are we, what is the vision? Like, we try to frame the product goal for that product, not just limited to the sprint goal for the launch alone, the product goal, and then build features with all the non-functional aspects into the consideration, like scalability, reliability, operability, and also how can we maintain that product in case of any rollbacks happen, thinking about the other side of the coin, and also improve value, continuously iterating it rather than going big bang. So we thought we'll validate it with minimalistic needful feature with the customers through mocks, prototypes, all such things happen. And definitely that was a delightful experience, I would say. The outcome, if you hear it, is 30% reduction is what we achieved when we measured after we launched it in all markets. And that was a truly commendable experience for the entire organization and the teams. They felt it was a worth experiment to carry on. Using the Scrum framework is what we're able to achieve such large initiatives in a smaller fashion and with smaller bets that we made on it, that experiment.
That's really a great experiment and seems to be a valuable experiment experience that the organization can cherish forever. Scrum is an intentionally incomplete framework, right? So that consists of several enablers like time box, shared accountability, etc., etc. That unlocks the collective intelligence of the people to discover their inherent simple process in line to the context they operate in as part of their agile journey.
Yeah, true. I think the word sustainability introduced in the recent Scrum Guide is also very vital, because to deliver sustainable value, there needs to be a continuous discovery of our inherent path towards agility that is critical during every conversation that we have day in, day out during the sprint. And the events are opportunities within the sprint for us to inspect and adapt all the necessary artifacts, be it the product backlog for how should we order the product backlog according to the product goal, and sprint backlog, how can we align it towards the sprint goal in order to get something coherently done to validate our experiments at a faster rate using Scrum framework, and also validate. The key here is about validating those assumptions that we had as list of product backlog items through the increment that we deliver, aligning to the quality standards using the definition of done. I think that is a very important aspect when we employ Scrum framework for the people to fulfill their fullest potential and also achieve the accountability in terms of how can we make it better, how can we improve the value, how can we improve the processes within the value stream across all three roles that people enact within the Scrum framework. That helps them discover their inherent simple rules, simple path towards agility.
It is really amazing, right? That essential elements are well interconnected in Scrum. Yes, mostly many people and organization implement Scrum for the delivery aspect alone, whereas we should strike a fine balancing act between discovery and delivery using the opportunities to inspect and adapt the value stream in a complex domain. So Scrum is exposed with Scrum values in order to build a disciplined mindset amongst the people, using it as a mean to solve complex challenges in a simple manner.
Yeah, I like the way you said means, because Scrum is just one of the ways to discover a simple path inherently towards agility. And I'd like to add one more aspect, the people part, which seems to be a simple one and a tougher one to deal with. So, as per the four essential beliefs from the foundation of coactive way of, I think that's one of the coaching framework out there. So they strongly believe that people are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole, focus on their wholeness. And in addition to that, they are also agile inherently. People are by nature inherently agile. I think let's continuously discover our inherent connections, consistently scrum on, and collaborate effectively by identifying the right constraints to thrive in a complex adaptive ecosystem. I think that makes it even more sustainable, as you talked about. You touched upon how we can improve using inherent simplicity, theory of constraints, and all this is being employed and executed by people. So we'll have to have complete belief in them and coach them, which is one of the crucial skills that you mentioned. Coaching unlocks their potential in order to make that happen, isn't it?
True, Umar. See how these three things are meeting, merging at a single point, right? Great. It was truly an immersive conversation to help people explore the different perspectives and dimensions about the significance of continuous discovery throughout their agility journey. Thank you, Umar, and looking forward to connecting for yet another engaging conversation in near future.
Thanks again, Bala.